Hello, everyone. Welcome to the First Ones to Die podcast. We hope you're having a lovely day wherever you are. My name is Jonathan. I'm here with Alex and Jerome. How are you both doing? Jerome, I know you're a little tired right now, but how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm feeling a little bad. I broke my glasses, so that sucks. But
Were you
it's
were you
all
doing
good.
some
I do
Mortal
have a
Kombat? Is that why you broke them?
yes. I fought many super powered people, killed them all, and I used the glasses to do it. Snapped their spine in half. But I didn't think
Nice.
about the fact that it would probably crack my glasses in the process. So
Dang.
unfortunately, now I stand with broken glasses.
Didn't know we were going into murder right away.
Right
but no,
away, not even 2 minutes in.
but no, I'm
Al-
good. I'm chilling.
yeah. Alex, how are you doing? Have you had as an eventful um, a day as Jerome has?
Not at all. I hung out with my sister and my sister-in-law, and then I went to Michael's to get a yarn to crochet a baby blanket eventually.
Nice. Michael's
Yeah.
is always nice to visit.
It's fun. Their lights were flickering in the back where the yarn and fabrics were, and it was like
Oh, that's
creepy.
annoying.
But how
Yeah.
are you doing, Jonathan? How you doing in sunny California?
I'm doing good. It was a little overcast today.
Well, it rained today in
I'm
Seattle, so yeah,
oh, okay.
you have
And
to be
I'm
lucky.
officially, I guess I'm one of those people now when it gets to like mid to low 60s, I'm like, it's freezing. But it
You've been
actually turned
there.
out
You've been there 3 weeks, and you've already adjusted to the weather.
I know, except, oh my gosh, for some reason, I don't know whether it was the changing weather or not, but like the last couple of days, I've been waking up with just like not all up in my nose, sneezing, these allergies. I've been taking my Claritin. It's rough,
Oh, you,
but
so like, I learned why that happens, why allergy seasons are so bad in like the US. It's because when they were bringing trees over, like cherry blossoms and things like that, they chose more male trees that have a higher pollen because they wanted to, make sure the type of tree spread a little faster, all that. So technically, it's just because of the male trees.
hey, I believe it.
The
I
male's fault
believe it.
again.
But other than that, my day's been good. I also did a bit of shopping, and yeah, it's been a good time. You know what? Also was a good time. I don't know about you guys, but Mortal Kombat. We all
No,
watched
no, no,
the
you didn't say it
movie.
right. You got to say it like this: Mortal Kombat, and then
I'm not
techno
saying it
music
like that.
starts, and then it's like
No,
A little more, come
no.
on, show a little more enthusiasm, Jonathan. This movie is
Come
literally
on,
all
Jonathan.
about like amped up energy and like, yeah.
Come on, Jonathan. Give us one good Mortal Kombat. Do it.
Okay, how about, well, now I feel pressured to do it. I can't do it on my own accord. Okay, maybe you'll get it at one time during this podcast. All right. Anyway, the movie Mortal Kombat talks
You did
about.
that on purpose.
I did actually.
Absolutely.
It's about MMA fighter Cole Young as he seeks out Earth's greatest champions in order to stand against the enemies of Outer World in a high stakes battle for the universe.
Does it honestly say Outer World?
Outworld, Outworld,
Oh, okay. I was about to
Outworld. I
say.
read it wrong.
In the realm of the outworld.
Outer World sounds a little more interesting though. I want to know what Outer World is. Maybe that's
That's
their
a
sister world.
defunct theme park where many people died, and unfortunately now it's now abandoned.
Damn. That I wasn't prepared for that. Okay.
It stars Louis Tan, Jessica McNamee, Joe Slim, and many other people. An ensemble cast of characters as our favorite Mortal Kombat characters that we know and love. Obviously, this is a video game movie, and we'll probably get into the ins and outs of the genre of video game movies in this episode. But first, we like to start it off with our non spoiler section, which is basically our overarching thoughts of the movie. And then we dive deep into spoilers where we'll discuss every single bit of the movie. So first, in our non-spoiler section.
Real quick, sorry.
Go ahead.
Before we get started, also, if you want to see an experience of us playing Mortal Kombat and having a good old time, check out the YouTube channel. There's a video up there, all three of us playing Mortal Kombat together. It's a good time. It was very funny, in my opinion. And it was great to see both
Basically,
Alex
just
and
come-
Jonathan's reactions to the to
I
the new
was
Mortal Kombat.
yeah. Which last episode, Kaylin did make a point. Mortal Kombat has always been as gruesome as the technology has allowed it, and the technology is really allowing the gruesome to catch up to the story.
Mhm. So I'm sorry, Jonathan. Go ahead.
No, well that leads us basically into our thoughts, because the technology of this movie definitely allowed for the gruesomeness as well for me. I'll start off with my thoughts, because I actually kind of enjoyed it. I didn't know what I was expecting. I didn't really have a major attachment to the Mortal Kombat story or franchise. So I was going into it, just for what it was, a movie about people who face off in one-on-one combat style, and not too much the story as it is, but I feel like the actual fighting itself really really exhibited, really got the soul of the game to me. And the gruesomeness of it all, I definitely screamed at multiple times. And I feel like the characters definitely portrayed their counterparts well, most of them. But overall, I liked it. I enjoyed it. Alex, what did you think of Mortal Kombat?
I enjoyed it too. I enjoyed seeing all the basically the popular characters that came about. Um, I will say connecting it so much to the game. I think the movie stands stronger if it's on its own legs, but if it's like comparing to the game, it's a little bit off to me. Um, and just remembering the old Mortal Kombat movie, that wasn't great either. But this one was better than that one, I think, at least. This one had less cringy moments, but a lot. Yeah, you're right. There was squeamish parts where it's like, this. I get what you're doing, and I get what the video game and everything, but I'm like, was that necessary? But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, because it's Mortal Kombat. That's their like whole deal, defeating their opponents in the most sometimes ridiculous ways, but also most effective and gruesome to show that yes, I am the best fighter and killer, in the outworld, and fighting somebody now from the Earth realm. It was just something I think needed to be presented in a way, um, by showing off how deadly their skills can really be. Like I said, I enjoyed it as a stand movie alone. Comparing it to the video game, it seemed kind of tacky and kind of like, yeah, you're just really trying to take the most cinematic parts of the game, put in the movie, but kind of it was hard to stay on the plot that was originating from the game to the movie. But it was trying to, it felt like it was just really trying to do its own thing at the same time. I would probably watch it again just to see certain parts, but as a whole movie, I don't think I would rewatch totally.
And Jerome, you teased us a little bit yesterday when you said I have thoughts about this movie.
Oh,
so
yeah,
I
that's
want to
right.
hear your thoughts.
This movie, I love that all the characters are finally on film. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say finally, because there was a web series like a couple years back that Machinima was doing called Mortal Kombat Legacy. They had 2 seasons, and that did a really good job of bringing to life a lot of the Mortal Kombat characters as well. But I think this one does just as good a job. Like Liu Kang looks like Liu Kang, Kung Lao. They did an amazing job like displaying his powers, and everything like that. The hat, Squirt, of course, Sub-Zero gets the most shine in this. Like you really get to see Sub-Zero in action. So I think that's really cool. And for once we get the fatalities, and they're as bloody as they should be. The like I don't know the I don't know if it's necessarily the bloodthirsty monster in me just had a great old time watching people get cut to bits or their hearts ripped out. So I was having a good time. However, this, like, all that being said, this is going to be yet another Fantasy Island situation, because this movie is the textbook definition of disappointing for me. Absolutely. Because this, like, it's the same thing with Godzilla Kong, where when they were writing this movie, they thought all people wanted was just the fatalities and the blood and the gore, and then and nobody in the room was like, okay, but what's the story though? Because this story is trash. This is such a bad script.
I mean, isn't the story just basically the fatalities in the end?
No.
Who's the last
Mortal
standing?
Kombat has a story.
Who's the last standing?
And first of all, this is a prequel, because for a movie called Mortal Kombat, the tournament isn't in it. At all. So that's the first failure.
They talk about it.
But they talk about it. Yeah, they talk about it a lot. You don't ever get to see it. They're just like, hey, wait for the next movie to see Mortal Kombat. It's like, I'm watching Mortal Kombat now. What's the title of this movie? So that's like my general thoughts without spoiling anything. I think it's not an awful movie, granted, though I say that. Like Fantasy Island, I just gave like a total F. This, I wouldn't give this an F. I don't think this is like that bad, but it's definitely for me on the same level as a Godzilla versus Kong. And y'all know how I felt about that movie because the review's up. So go check that out.
I think that's maybe why I enjoyed it as much as I did, was because they didn't try and have a plot. They were just like, okay, we're just gonna basically play you a version of the video game, like with actors. And that's what we're going to do.
So 2 things real quick. I get what you're saying with the Fantasy Island, but at least this one stayed a little closer to like one plot. Fantasy Island had like 20 plots going on at the same storylines.
No. I just mean Fantasy Island in the sense that you two like it, and I'm the one who has to be like the staunch, like, I don't like it.
I did not like Fantasy Island.
No, we didn't like it.
You didn't like it after I put out some points.
No, I never liked it. I liked the ending part.
The first thing you said was,
about how I fell asleep during it.
I liked it.
Wait, and the second thing I wanted to say
roll back this footage.
No, I want to say something else really quick. You were just on me about how, like, I was saying I'm willing to go on a rampage with my friends. You go on and talk about the fatalities and the bloodthirsty monster in you. I have a purpose for my murder. What's yours, sir?
See, for me, though, it's because it's fictional violence, all right? You want to do real violence. That's
I don't want to do real violence. I'm here for my friends.
Or rather,
Jerome, this is on footage. You cannot be putting out those allegations like that.
I'm not the one with the bloodthirsty monster in me. I'm just a good friend.
Besides, all right, I like to imagine that mine is very dormant, and he comes out every now and again when he watches Mortal Kombat.
Okay, disclaimer to our audience, for anyone tuning in for the first time, no one on this podcast is actually bloodthirsty. This is all in jest, okay? This is all in jest. This is all in good fun.
Watch, it's actually going to be Jonathan, the first one that ever murders anybody.
Murders anybody?
Always the ones you're like, well, he was the good guy, you know? He was the friend that was holding everything together and keeping the crazies calm. And like, lo and behold, he just snaps one day and we got to figure out like, well.
At that point, our podcast will then be the first one to kill. And it'll be all Jonathan because me and Alex are going to move on.
Yeah.
Let me wipe this reputation off of me and let's get into the spoiler section.
The quiet one.
Into the spoiler section. Here we go. First problem number 1. The movie's not about Mortal Kombat. In fact, we don't even see the tournament at all. That's the first problem. Second problem, I don't give a crap about Cole Young or his family for the entire runtime of this movie. And not only that, but in a movie called Mortal Kombat, where everybody is supposed to be a fighter, why is our main character the one whose superpower is getting his ass kicked in every single fight he's in the entire movie?
Also, did it seem to anybody else that he looked way too young to have a kid that old?
That too, yeah. I thought his wife was his sister or something. I was like, maybe
Same.
he's biracial and that's like his stepsister or something like that. And then like this kid is like her daughter. I didn't think they were married and that's his
Right.
daughter.
That's no, that's true. That was a weird combination of like, are you trying to fill like a quota or like something? Like he has to have a family and you kind of ran out of time and you're like, oh, just bring in any kid off the street. It'll fine. It'll do. We'll like make it a stepson. People won't question it. They're here for the blood. It's fine.
Exactly. They're not here for the plot.
Also, like,
Yeah.
I get what you're saying about getting his like asking, but like maybe that was like it was solely the purpose to like humble him. Because like if he's like
Why
a
does he need to
good
be humble? He's not cocky at all. He's actually very humble. He's a very honest guy. Like when he's like failing to like
because that's
discover
what
his power,
they
he's just
do.
like,
That's what
"Look,
they
I'm no
do with
help."
main characters. That's what they do with main characters. They like either you have to be humbled or you got to realize, oh, I'm actually good at stuff. I just figured maybe it was the humbling thing because he wasn't actually, he wasn't very good at stuff even in the end.
He was the most boring character, and it's a shame because he doesn't even need to be here. He doesn't exist in the games. They made him up for this movie, and so you would think they would at least have the decency to give him some character, give him some personality, and instead they make him the driest thing in this film. Not that he
That's
is
why his name is Cole Young. Like all of these other people have the coolest names.
Yeah.
Jax, Kano, Sonya Blake, like all those people have super cool names, and then you got Cole Young.
Cole Young, the lamest character to be ever tied to Mortal Kombat ever.
They needed a character for people to like connect with, and they did not.
The problem is that they have that character. His name's Johnny Cage, and he's in the games. Because
and he acts as this character, but like at a heightened level.
No, in the games and in the movie, in the first movie, they use Johnny Cage because in the movie, or sorry, in the games, he's like a super cocky actor who knows martial arts, so he's a good fighter, but he's like tired of like being in films where the martial arts is fake. He's like, I really want to like do some martial arts. And so his agent's like, hey, I heard about this martial arts tournament that's happening or whatever, called Mortal Kombat or something. You want to go? And Johnny's like, yeah, sure. So he doesn't even realize that it is like a legendary like fight that's going to
death match.
Yeah. And so when he gets there, he meets Liu Kang and Sonya, and they have to explain to him like, no, this is all real, dog. Like you are going to die if you lose. And he is the Avatar character. He knows nothing about this world when he's introduced, but at the same time, he has personality. Like he makes jokes, he cracks wise. In fact, everything Kano does in this movie, which is why he's the one character I liked, is what Johnny Cage would do. Is like crack jokes and crack wise and be like a jerk. Now, granted, because Johnny's a good guy, eventually he'll like be humbled because Sonya kicks his butt, and then he's like, all right, maybe I'm not as cool as I think I am. I'm sorry. Versus Kano is a bad guy, so he's always going to keep talking trash until he dies.
What I really don't get was like, why'd they put that beginning scene in the movie? You know, that like starting in like the 17th century Japan, talking about like Sub-Zero's story and Scorpion story, but then like it's not really addressed again, and it goes all about like the end, and it's like, well, no, I felt like if you're gonna give me an origin story, you start off with this, then let it be about like it's not really the biggest rivalry, but it's a really like focused rivalry. For those who play the games, they of course know about like Scorpio and Sub-Zero, and like, okay, then focus on that rivalry. There's already a rivalry built in the game. You're right. You know, there's the Johnny Cage and everything like that. So there are characters that already have these storylines that you can show a full-on layout of it, being like, look at all this if you want to do a prequel. Yeah, don't bring in a whole character that you clearly made no real personality to, and like try to make him, oh, he's gonna end up being the best of everything, or he's gonna lead the tournament. Why? Like, why?
I think that beginning scene was to like establish how like savage Sub-Zero is, like killed this woman and kid and um and then what's his name? I'm forgetting his name. Went to hell, but not really. And then these are his
Scorpion.
Yes, Scorpio. Yeah, what's
Scorpion.
Scorpio?
Scorpion.
Yeah, like the
Scorpion.
It's like a bug. I like that animal.
Mm-hmm. And then and to essentially establish like where these people and where Cole Young originated from. But okay. Yeah. Oh, were you gonna say something, Jerome?
I was gonna say the other thing that's weird about that though too is because to like we talked about this during our trending topics episode, and you asked that question, Alex, of like what is like a like deep story in Mortal Kombat that's like emotionally driven. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically the crux of the question. And I answered that it was Scorpion's story, and it is both in the games and in the movies, as they show in this movie. Scorpion's story is a really interesting one of like revenge and really sad, and you can instantly connect with it. And also it's a great excuse for a really good action sequence because both of them are ninjas. But the problem is that like that they're not the main characters of Mortal Kombat. Neither of them, Sub-Zero or Scorpion, which is why their resolution is resolved very quickly in the games in the tournament. That's where that because Sub-Zero is part of the tournament and Scorpion shows up and Sub-Zero's like, I'm pretty sure I killed you, right? And Scorpion's like, no, you didn't kill me hard enough. Get over here. And, and they start fighting. And it's like a scene. It is not a whole story because the story wraps up in Hanzo died. He came back a Scorpion. That's it. So it's like, you can't start the movie with that if you're not going to flesh that out, because it is like a short tale in a 2-hour long movie.
It also doesn't really address like what was the doesn't even really bring up like the rivalry between the clans either. It's just like Sub-Zero, bad guy, he kills everybody because gang violence basically, but it's coming down to. And then it's like, okay, but like who fired shots first? Is this just him? Like, did Scorpio step on his territory? Is that what's going on? Is like Sub-Zero just like, fuck it, I want everything now? Like, why? Why is he suddenly coming in, guns a-blazing? And like, what is like, yeah, they just introduced a section of the story for like an automatic action and to way to, I feel like, almost trap the viewers and being like, oh yeah, it's going to be about the players, the real story that's in there. We all like Johnny Cage. I'd never liked Johnny Cage. We all, the Johnny Cage is there, he's the main story. But like, we're going to show you why the bloodthirst is real between, all the fighters and the assassins and the ninjas and teams and clans and all this stuff. And then he goes to just this sad dude who, by the way, loses constantly at the MMA too. And it's why the hell are you still fighting then?
I love
and who is representing you?
He's doing like street fights. But I love that he's in like a hole, like in the beginning of the movie, he's in that hole that any person who's seen an MMA fight is like, no, he's got a tap. Like, there's no way he's going to break that hole.
Oh, yeah, no.
He's straight up stronger than the person who's got him in it. And he can like lift him or something, which he can't. So it's like, he's got a tap, and his daughter's in the side of the ring. No, Dad, don't tap. I'm like, do you want him to die? Like, he's gonna lose an arm if he don't tap. He better tap out. What are you talking about?
That daughter wanted the insurance money. We all know it.
But then he listened to her when he was fighting the four-armed
Goro.
I'm sorry. Yes. And she was like, use the uppercut. And then he did that, and it worked. So
here's the thing too. To go back to Scorpion Sub-Zero though a little bit, because Alex, you brought up something of like the clans and stuff that's mentioned. The problem though is, and because here's the thing.
Yeah, but it's not really. They mentioned there is a rivalry, but they don't really explain the rivalry, and I
Well, the thing
think,
is,
and I get
like,
the movie's not in the end. The movie wasn't about that. It was just about this new character. But
mhm.
like, I I understand he has murdered quite a few people, but I love Sub-Zero and I love his character and who he is and the powers he has. And I just felt like knowing the rivalry and the real reason between everything going on for what was happening would have maybe given more effect to why like Scorpion. Now you got me saying it weird.
Scorpion.
Scorpion, thank you. I was gonna say Scorpio. I'm like, that's not right. Scorpion was suddenly like, oh yeah, I'm gonna help this complete stranger help his family. It was just a like, here, this explains why
Well,
he's like
he
just
knows it's
rescuing a
his
family.
bloodline, I think, right? Doesn't he know like Cole is like his descendant or whatever?
Like his great granddaughter's great
Yeah.
grandson or something.
I mean, the
Yeah,
thing
it's
is, the thing about the clans thing is because I watched it or I read an interview from the director where he was saying like, yeah, like we really dug into the games to get like a lot of the lore, and that is true. They mention a lot of lore here. There's a lot of Easter eggs and stuff that if
yeah,
you're a fan
I will
of the
give you that.
game, you're gonna know exactly what they're talking about. Like when Sub-Zero's like for the Lin Kuei, I was like, oh snap, they're name dropping the Lin Kuei clan. Like that's awesome, or whatever. The problem is that not only does this movie do nothing with any of the lore that they mention, they make up lore for this movie. Like because the markings thing of like, oh well, you know, if you're have a mark, that means you're going to be part of the Mortal Kombat tournament, and that's how you unlock your power. That's completely original. That's not in the games. People just have powers. Liu Kang can just shoot fire out of his fist. Sonya just has the laser rings. Like, there's no explanation because you don't need one. It's a fighting game. We don't care.
Well, not only
But
that,
then,
like, wait, no, really quick. The reason a lot of them got their powers was like, okay, Scorpion got it because he went to hell and he made a deal with the devil, basically.
Right.
Johnny Cage did it because he more so tapped into his like inner powers and strength,
Mm-hmm.
and that is a big what I've seen with like meditation and fighting styles like that in Eastern cultures. There is a way to tap in, like everybody has a power they connect with, everybody has an energy source that they have, and using those fighting techniques, using those meditations, that concentration allows you to delve into your inner parts of your, I'm going to say soul because I don't have a better word, soul, to unlock that energy and power. And yeah, having that birthmark, I was like, well, that's BS. So that means if you're just like a person who really wants to start fighting, you're just, that shows you're never going to reach any other level than you're human. That's it,
Well,
unless
that's
you're
what happened to
they
Sonya in
kind
this
of,
movie.
they
Exactly.
kind of tried to do something where, someone was in maybe like a dire situation and they had to, unlock their potential. And then finally their powers are fully unlocked, like with Jax, where he sees Sonya like almost dying, and then he has to lift up the rock, and then his powers are unlocked. Or with Cole when he's fighting to fend off his family, and then his powers are unlocked. But then it's like if you still have to unlock your powers, then what's the point of the birthmark? And by the way, I've never heard the word birthmark be like portrayed so dramatically ever in my life, and it was just like funny to me. I remember when we talked about the trailer, I was like, when I heard that line, it's not a birthmark, Cole, I started laughing because like that shouldn't be a line that should be so funny, but it is.
What's
But then
funny
they
is,
continue to also call it a birthmark, by the way.
well, because for Cole it is, but other people you can just kill them and get it. And
Yeah, that made no sense at all.
it's just, well, the thing that also the birthmark thing alone, or the mark in general, is a can of worms that they should not have opened, because it adds too many questions they don't have answers to. Like for example, Jax's power, right? Jax's inner power, and when he unlocks it, is that his little baby T-Rex great value metal arms
don't be dissing
Damn.
his arm.
Okay, he's going for
become
him.
like,
Okay.
big bulky, the normal Jax arms like in the games. My question is, okay, but that's because he has metal arms. Was that always going to be his power? where his arm's just gonna get ripped off visually and turn into metal if he did, because he had the mark before this fight. How does that work? Also, question: if you unlock your Arcana, but then are killed, but then Shang Tsung is like, "Oh yeah, death isn't the end for my fighters; they'll be back." So when he brings back Kano for the next movie, because I'm sure he's coming back, is he still gonna have the laser eye? Because he doesn't have the mark anymore. Sonya
He got
took it.
acetone poured into his eye.
Well, no, you also got a gnome shoved in it, so I think that's
That
a bigger
too.
issue.
That's true.
But
gnome.
I'm just saying, is he gonna? This is why these things aren't questions you should ask. Because
Also-
Kano in the games has just a cybernetic eye, and visually, we as people who aren't idiots can figure out, okay, he has cybernetics. That's
Also,
it.
like, again, going back to Scorpion, he got his powers going to hell. He wouldn't have a birthmark.
Right.
And then also, you kill somebody, you get the birthmark. Does that mean if I kill a bunch of them, I get all their birthmarks?
That's also a good
Does
question.
does the birthmark get like darker until it's
You
just
have a
like,
one limit birthmark. There are terms and
I mean,
conditions.
does
okay?
it like, can I accumulate powers? Can I become like an avatar and like have the
Have
four
all the powers.
have all the powers? And like, what about the powers that were given to? What about cybernetics going in there? And like, the people who are just like, again, bad and who learn skills and have weaponry, who don't actually have any like powers per se, but just fight with straight up weapons and skill. Do they have birthmarks? See, so many questions.
These are all questions.
And the biggest thing that I think for me is like the biggest failure to this is that like all you had to do was the Mortal Kombat tournament, but instead you wanted to, and I was racking my brain being like, okay, well, why? Because they're like really hard sequel baiting. They're just like, look, we're gonna get the Mortal Kombat tournament. Don't worry, we're gonna get there. All right, we just need, that's the second movie. Right now we got to set up these characters, and I'm like, you don't really have to, but okay, but why? And after I was done with the movie, I was like, I don't even know if I want a second one. Are they even getting a second one? And then come to find out, apparently, Joe Taslim, Taslim, I don't know how to pronounce your last name, so I'm sorry if I mispronounced it. Who plays Sub-Zero, fantastically, by the way. He does a great job as Sub-Zero. Who turns out he signed on for 4 Mortal Kombat movies. So this being the first one, so that means there's 3 more. So they were lazy on purpose because they knew they were getting more movies.
How
This
mad
is
are
the
you going to
Dark
be
Universe
if they don't
all
do a
over
Mortal?
again.
How mad are you going to be if they don't do Mortal Kombat in the next movie?
Mortal Kombat is going to join the blacklist. I have for those who don't know, I have a blacklist of movie franchises I refuse to watch. On that list is Transformers and any more Adam Sandler comedies. Fast and Furious was on there, but then I watched Hobbs and Shaw and I took it off. It redeemed itself. But anyway, the point is,
Fast and the Furious is good if you just don't take it too seriously.
The point is that Mortal Kombat is going to find its way on that list if they have the nerve to make another movie and it not be the Mortal Kombat tournament. I swear to God, because this is
I don't like that. I don't like that idea of setting up when you don't even have a first movie in the first place. Setting up like a first movie of your franchise, setting up multiple sequels, even though they're probably not guaranteed, but they're probably I don't know the technical term for it, but they're probably like on hold or whatever. Just like with the Avatar movies, how they're planning sequels until like 2035 or whatever.
Yeah, but that also happened with the Monster Realm. Remember, that didn't work out either.
Oh, you mean Dark Universe?
Yeah, because they had planned like 5-6 movies. Right?
They had
they
like
had a picture with actors in it, so
they had like a straight up like timeline movie set and everything, and just the Mummy bombed so hard that everybody was like, you know what? In the end, let's just cut our losses, walk away, don't look back, and let's not talk about this again.
Let's just leave.
Let's not. I literally 30 minutes in that film, and I had 4 pages of issues, front and back, of what was wrong. Straight up like racist undertones too. But the point is, I think that's why you have to be careful, and you have to like what they showed with the fighting and everything almost made it feel like, okay, maybe we're gonna see these people outside the tournament and they're like fighting in more like gritty areas or something. That's what kind of the vibe I got from the trailer. That is not what I got at all. It wasn't a real fight to fight anymore. It was more like Cole trying to understand this world, this weird like revenge plot hiding in the background, and like I get he's probably the bloodline of the guy, but like at the same time it's like I feel like you just created a random bloodline in there. If anything, he should have been like the great grandson of like Johnny Cage. That would have made more sense to me.
Well,
That
Johnny
been...
Cage is in the modern era, so they want him to like,
right.
be in the movies.
But like, I feel like it's weird to have almost. I get like there's the Earth realm people who are going to be in the modern era, but I feel like you really need to limit that to like certain characters because we're more focused on the outer world. We want to see those crazy powers. We want to see the abilities people have. I want to see a giant ice wall and like flamethrowers and the guy with like the bunch of arms. What's his name?
Yeah,
again?
Goro.
Goro. Thank you. I can never remember his name. So I feel like when you bring in Earth realm people, you kind of take away that excitement. And then it's also like, well, some of the tournaments have teams, so he's definitely going to be on Scorpion's team. Does every team get one Earth realm person? Is that cheating? Is that like what? What now are these rules you're going to try to put into if you make a tournament movie? And also, like, is the tournament going to be the last film you do? Because I feel like if Joe Tasman has signed up to do 4 Mortal Kombat movies, that means we might not get the tournament to the end because the tournament I feel like is going to have Sub-Zero and Scorpion fight, and one of them's going to win.
Well, Bihan, the character of Bihan, does come back after he's killed as another character. He comes back as Noob Saibot, and then his brother Kuai Lang, who is the new Sub-Zero, and that's the Sub-Zero most people know. That's when Sub-Zero was a good guy. So throughout most of the games, Kuai Lang is Sub-Zero. I think Bihan Sub-Zero for the first one. So I think if he signed on, I think he's going to be a different character when they bring him back for the next few movies, if they get him. He's going to be Noob Saibot, probably.
Oh, that's boring.
Can we briefly talk about Kano? Because I was enjoying him at first with, the antics and the jokes, and I chuckled a couple times. But then I was like, okay, this is one-dimensional. He was getting on my nerves. And I'm like, okay, just take him out already. Just take him out because
it became a time and a place thing.
I love Kano because he is the perfect antagonist to who he is exactly who he should be in the comics. In the comics. See, we talk so much about comic book movies at this point. It's overlap.
We do.
But in the game, that's who Kano is. He's just a trash talking, foul mouth spitting, like just dude who just every second of the day it's just like, Kano, can you shut up? Nah, mate, I'm gonna keep talking trash. I'm gonna keep talking trash until like he's Conor McGregor. He's the Conor McGregor of the Mortal Kombat world. All he does is talk trash.
But he wasn't even really talking trash. He had more of a sassy mouth.
I mean,
he's just making little quips here and there, and it's like the same thing. Dude, not right now.
I feel like he should have. I feel like he should have been more. He should have been a little more threatening. I wasn't really scared of him at all, or scared for the other people of him. I wasn't really scared of them.
Are you not scared of the fact that he can rip a heart out with his bare hands? And he ripped through a reptile, I have you know. Reptiles have very tough skin. So if he could do that to a reptile person, a human person is just at risk. That's before he got the powers.
A lot of them can do that. Like Johnny Cage can burn your flesh as he's moving in, take out your heart, and so there's a.
I mean, that's in the games, but in the movies they established Kano's pretty much the only one who's at least done it so far.
Done it, but I'm just saying, pretty much. I think everybody there really has the ability to rip out my heart,
except Cole. He'll probably get the crap kicked out of him before he ever gets a chance to even get at your chest. I hate Cole so much. I have never rooted for a villain to kill a main character so badly until Sub-Zero was fighting Cole, and I was like, kill him, Please freeze him, freeze the family, everybody. Just get these
That
characters
man had a
out
wife
of
and
here.
kid,
I don't
okay?
care. I didn't care about her either. I didn't want any of them to survive. I wanted them gone. I was like,
The
we don't need
innocent
you.
citizen.
We didn't ask for you. Get out of here. All right, leave. Just leave.
I think that the fact that they made him like Jerome's gonna calm down in a sec. I think the fact that they made him like the child of Scorpion 2 is like, why are you so weak then? What is your problem? You literally have a generational bloodline of powerful fighters from another world, but you can't fight people in our world. Like how crappy are you?
Well, shameful. No, the Shirai Ryu and the Lin Kuei, they're from Earthrealm too, but they have magic, like Liu Kang, like the monks and stuff. Like they just have magic, which is why they have abilities. But I mean, and it's a shame. It really is a shame. What's funny too is the Earthrealm people can be interesting. I will say this, like, despite this movie having much better effects and definitely I think the actors are taking it way more seriously than the 1995 Mortal Kombat movie. The 1995 Mortal Kombat movie got right, though, that we don't need to explain all this lore. You're coming in assuming, like, the trailer alone gives you the impression that this is a movie about a bunch of people with powers. You don't need to, like, so right there from the beginning, you don't need to explain anything. In a world where we get a Marvel, like 2 or 3 Marvel movies a year, some of them with new characters who have powers that we don't really explain. They just have them. You could make a Mortal Kombat movie where you don't have to explain why Liu Kang can shoot fire out of his fist and why Kung Lao has a hat that flies across the room and can come back to him and become a buzzsaw, because people will just buy it.
And also, it was also because it kind of reminded me of, like, they're also in a place where everybody knows the lore and legend, and like it kind of reminds me of like a main character in like a story or a show when they're discovered, what, I have magic powers. Like they get the lore explained to them once, and then it's like, okay, character knows enough, we'll deal with stuff as it comes. But this really kept like pushing it and being like breaking away from everything. Oh yes, this is this new lore. Oh, look at this statue, let me explain everything. I didn't need the history lesson. It wasn't necessary. That statue wasn't as important as you thought it was. I get the story and the legend behind it is important to your characters, but not to him. It doesn't matter. And like they were just, it felt like it was they kept doing a reintroduction of, what is Mortal Kombat, the fighting, everything going on with the rivalry and stuff like that to him over and over and over. And it's like, if this guy's not getting it, maybe it isn't actually your like grandson. Maybe that birthmark is just like a really bad, like maybe it's just like he was tanning one day and it got a weird tan right there, like he had with a hole
was in wearing a shirt that had a design on it.
Yeah, and like it got like ripped and it was just coincidental complete. Because like again, yeah, birthmark was just stupid. And also I want to know, if I just kill a bunch of people with birthmarks, do I get their birthmark? Or does that birthmark become like darker? Do I have to get in the same place as them? Will that come up?
It's the thing of like, the craziest thing too is that the plot in itself, because the plot of this movie, for those who have seen it or haven't, is like, and you're still listening, which if you are, welcome. I'm glad you're still here after hearing me just yell about this movie for like 45 minutes. Anyway, the plot of this movie is that Shang Tsung is like, all right, we've already won 9 Mortal Kombat tournaments, but I don't want to bank on us winning a 10th one, even though it's probably a sure thing you're going to win. But anyway, he's like, so I'm a cheat. I'm a kill all of the Earthrealm warriors so that way when the tournament comes up, they're not going to have anybody to fight, or whoever they're going to have to fight my people are going to be trash, which is not a bad idea. However, the thing about the lore in the game, this is what I talk about again, where it's like they set up lore and then they just ignore it. Because in the games, there's the Elder Gods, and the Elder Gods' whole role is to just like make sure people are following the rules of Mortal Kombat. That's the whole point. In this movie, they say verbally, yeah, the gods don't care. They're just going to let us do what they want because they're lazy. They're not even going to get up and stop me. So I'm like, okay, then why don't you invade with your army like you keep threatening to do the whole movie? Why are you taking the time to send one person to kill like 6 people when you could just send the army now? You just said the gods aren't going to care. And at that point, then why is there even a tournament? Because if you could just skip the tournament and kill everybody anyway, why do we go to the Mortal Kombat tournaments at all?
For entertainment.
Yeah.
Who's entertainment? The only ones there are the competitors. there's
we're
no
watching
spectators.
from some weird realm. I mean, technically, there's the rules of like you can't really fight the tournament outside the tournament. But I think they created the underlining thing so that they could go past that ruling. Because technically it's not forbidden to like fight or have conflict outside the tournament if it's not about the tournament. So I think his initial goal was, yes, let me kill people. So like I'll win this in the end. But like he also had like the minoroscopic detailing of like, well, if the gods come at me, I can explain it's because of this or this or this. And like I think that was the only whole reason for this movie, honestly, was that I don't actually know what they were doing because they didn't really take out any characters for the tournament either.
Nope.
Not even one. Yeah. No, they was just like a lot
job of giving like third-rate Mortal Kombat characters to kill because they want to save the really good ones for the next movie.
For later.
Yeah. They didn't I'm like they didn't actually kill the ones who were the threat in the tournament if you guys come to it.
And the ones that got killed in this movie that they want to continue for the next movie, though. Oh, you're back to life.
I love Shang Tsung's just like, no, that's not the end. They'll be back. I'm like, okay, then what was the purpose of this entire movie then? If nobody
if there are no stakes.
Yeah, what is the point of it's literally called Mortal Kombat. Mortal. You fight, you die,
There's mortality, yes.
Yeah. If there is no true mortality, then the whole fight becomes just entertainment like an MMA fight.
This movie has been called Immortal Kombat.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Or Immortal Kombat.
I mean, here's the thing, and I don't want to like because
maybe
again,
Mortal.
I said I have just a lot of complaints because I'm a huge Mortal Kombat fan. So there's a lot of things that I feel like this movie just gets wrong or just changes for no reason. Then like instead of just leaving it the way it was. At the same time, though, this is no shade. Like I want to, add some positivity in there a little bit. This is no shade to any of the actors and actresses in this movie. I feel like with the material they are given, they do as good as they can. I mean, some of them are a little wooden. Like the actor who plays Liu Kang, he doesn't really. He's very fit, looks like the character. Doesn't have the best line delivery. He ain't quite getting it. But Jax. Mehcad Brooks, fantastic job. He totally is Jax. I buy. He's got the attitude. He's got the charisma, and of course, he's got the muscles. So he definitely looks like Jax. So
I feel like you have a little bit of something against Lewis Tan, who played Cole Young. I feel like there could be an argument against a little bit of something you have against him.
I don't have anything against Lewis Tan because I feel like they wait. Let me tell you something, Lewis Tan. If you're listening to this podcast or watching on YouTube, they did you wrong, brother. All right, you actually know how to fight, and they made you play a character where his whole job is to get beat down in every single fight he's in. So I feel bad for you. You deserved better. I hope they give you better in the next movie. It's disrespectful the way they did his character. And they gave him the most generic lines to say on top of that. So they didn't even give him like some fun stuff to say. He's just around,
because he doesn't have a fighting power yet. Not properly.
His fighting power is to get beat up because he has the armor. Literally, I was like, what's his power gonna be?
Well,
then?
not
And his
it.
power's getting beat up.
Well, I meant like properly. Like he hasn't used that power as a actual power. He's just like gone beat. Of course, he's not gonna have anything fun to say. Of course, he doesn't have those one-liners yet, like all the other characters do, because he didn't know that, like, oh, getting beat up is actually I'm like a shield. I can make a witty pun about being a shield or a protector. I don't know what pun that would be, or what like one-liner you can have from that. I am gonna be pissed if they don't create a one line for him, because that's a big thing with Mortal Kombat 2 is they all have their lines.
I mean, even Kano said like the thing that all the games say when he kills reptiles, like Kano wins. I was like, all right, that's good. Pretty.
I mean,
it's cheesy, but I'll take it. In a movie devoid of a lot of personality, I'll take it. Like I will take what I can get.
They just had such a strong story with the other characters, and that's what pisses me off. They had such a strong story with, you know, Sub-Zero and Scorpion. They had a strong story with Sonya Blade, and they had such strong like characters that have a real story in the game that people are connected with. And then you bring in this random guy who's like powers to get beat up, who has no personality, who has a weirdly aged wife and child, who like at a certain point, like, no offense, but like if I have a kid with you and I'm like working, but all you're doing is getting beat up and not bringing any money home to support the child, my ass isn't going to stay with you. I don't want my child in a bad school district. All right, my first line is always going to be about that kid. And unfortunately, I know the fact that we're living on a sole income is not going to bring that into a good area. My ass is going to stay around, but it's of course, it's a whole, oh, we support you, we love you, we know what you're doing is what you're doing. No, get better.
Go to the gym.
Find a real job. Maybe MMA is not for you, dude. Go into boxing. Go in if you want to be a fighter. Cool. Go into boxing. Go into wrestling. The WWE, sparkly outfits. They make hella good money. Like, you got a kid. Support the child. And like, and you also now just put us all in risk because of your bloodline going on.
I want to say also, I want to give some shout out though also to, and I want to make sure I get his name right because he's awesome. Hiroyuki Sanada, who plays Scorpion. He does a great job. He does do a good job. Like I said, Sub-Zero and Scorpion, easily two of the best parts of this movie, hands down. Even their fight at the end was pretty good, except for the parts when they were cutting the coal, like sparring with the frozen version of his daughter, where he's just in the background like, huh, ha, ha.
Yeah, that
like,
was
dude, no one cares.
Fight.
Get back to Scorpion and Sub-Zero, please.
That was an awkward fight. No, that was an awkward fight because it was like so much like you could just kick her. Or like, yeah, no, just kick her because she was smaller than you. I mean, you just put a foot. She's coming towards you, you know, fly. Just stick your foot out really hard or punch her, and she's ice. I love Sub-Zero, but his power is ice. And when you're strong, like a lot of the Mortal Kombat fighters, you can break ice. A lot of the times, his power is diminished because one of them just supers up on their punch and breaks the ice wall he's created in front of them, or breaks off the ice that's sticking out of them now. And like, or like Scorpion or like Johnny Cage's, it's just melt the ice. And like, it was not an interesting fight. It was not a good fight. I think it would have been better had it been like a real opponent, somebody of his size or something like that. But no, it's also, you want to also focus on the fight of Sub-Zero and Scorpion because of their story that you were given to at the way beginning, and then the story you know from the game and like all that stuff. So you were like ready for this fight and you're like, I want to be invested in that fight. And then you keep cutting to this random dude I have no personal connection with. I don't like. He's a shitty fighter. Now he's fighting some ice version of his daughter that he's that's literally like down at like his waist. And it's like, you could just like punch her really hard. She shatters on the ground. That fight was unnecessary. And honestly, it would have been better for Sub-Zero just to like trap him in ice up to his arms and then be like, you wait here. We're going to talk like adults over here, or we're going to talk with our fists over here. You'll wait here and we'll see what we'll do with you later. Because that's a lot of what I felt they did with this character. They dragged him around. They're like, we're going to discuss what we're going to do with you later. Here's a bunch of lore. oh yeah, by the way, you're related to this guy, but we're not actually going to tell you directly that you're related to this guy. It's just heavily like implied. Also, yeah, like you have a birthmark. You're actually a really great fighter, and your power is just getting beaten on because your like body's in armor. But we don't know how to explain to you how to fight like that. Really, just get punched, you'll be fine. And it's just like, and then they like, toss him back to the real world, and it's just like you had just I'm upset with the parts that like you had good storylines in there. You had good actors and characters that you actually wrote well in this movie with their quippy one lines, and then you try so hard to like give us this one person with not even like a superpower that anybody would like or mimic or anything like that. You know, there's always that superpowers kids see, like with Thor and the lightning is like hammer. There's a tool. Sub-Zero, the ice, which I really love and like want to be part. There's Scorpion. There, all these ones have like power that you can show fighting. His is literally taking a punch. His body is armor. Well, show him how to body check somebody really hard. He could have just body checked his ice daughter and won the fight. Okay, don't keep telling him all this lore. Tell him we need to work on your power and your strength, which is protection, which could be, deflection, all that energy, kind of like Wonder Woman with that energy built up.
I mean, he does do it once. He deflects, he takes all these Goro's punches and he deflects the energy back at him with one punch, and that's it.
But it's not even like a real, it's a deflection, but it doesn't really show how he's absorbing that energy. Because like I bring it back to Wonder Woman, when she was holding it, it wasn't her solely, but it was the vibranium she was wearing on her bracelets, along with the strength and power she had, absorbing the hits from the shield. And you can see it bounding up. His punch to her was, she kept hitting him and he got away a little bit, and then he was able to charge up. But then it's like the energy's already gone. She hit, energy's gone. You're not holding on to that energy because she's not making contact with you anymore. With the vibration with Wonder Woman, it was a constant hit over and over and over in one place, concentrated. And it was like, that's not how deflection and energy buildup works.
Well,
scientifically speaking.
It seems like none of us will be joining the Cole Young fan club anytime soon. We won't be supporting him at any of his tournaments, of his matches, anything. Unfortunately,
if they're smart, they should just kill Cole off in the next movie.
They're not going to do that.
Off, and then just let the Mortal Kombat characters we actually care about and are actually in the game be the main characters.
Feel like they gotta like bring in somebody, like make his daughter a badass. Like the little girl's watching all this shit happen. She's technically part of the bloodline.
She's egging him on. She was cussing.
Yeah, she was on it, and she was like watching, be like, "You need to do this." He wasn't thinking about like, "Oh, I need to upper punch him," or "I need to do this." Little girl was shouting out what to do. So clearly she already knows what to do in the moment more than he does. And so
she's gonna grow a birthmark in the next movie.
Now let me ask you guys this while we still got some time. Because again, these
are how our mindset works. Jerome's like, we still got some time. Meanwhile, I'm here like trying to segue my wrap up.
Here's the thing. I want to talk about this because it's like, because we've talked a lot about the story and how it don't make sense and how characters suck. But one of the things we haven't talked about is a character, true. Because the rest of them, I think the rest of them, it's not that they're bad. It's that they're not given a lot of great lines
in the film.
They're not fleshed out enough. All of them.
Anyway, what were you saying?
What I was going to say, I wanted you guys' opinion on at least across the board on Twitter and stuff, when people are talking about this movie, they have said that they do enjoy some of the fights, not all of them, but most of them once the characters are using their powers, like Melina, when she's teleporting all over the place and stuff. And you have Kung Lao with his hat, and he does the buzzsaw fatality, which is great. And all this stuff, like, so what do you guys think about now that we're in the spoiler section, about the fatalities? And
now that we're in the spoiler section, we've been in the spoiler section for, anyway, continue.
I'm just saying, because we mentioned them before in the general thoughts, but we didn't really go into detail. So now we can go into detail. Like, what did you guys really think about the fatalities? Whether you want to talk about different fatalities or different fights that you saw that you liked or didn't like, whatever.
So the one that I cringed out probably the most was when homegirl with the wings, I don't know what her name was,
Natara.
but she got sawed in half. That was the one where I was like, oh, okay, we just went there. And
To be fair,
then
we didn't do that one when we played Mortal Kombat because you guys, both of you played Kung Lao, and we never got to do Kung Lao's fatality, which is that with the buzzsaw.
Get to see his hat.
You
Anyway,
did get to see his
and
hat.
then anything they had a couple in succession when people just got like their eye gouged in, and something just impaled their eye and through their head, and that was very gruesome for me. I guess more gruesome than more memorable, I guess that's what you can say. um but yeah, overall I really thought, like, in terms of the deaths and the fatalities, um, it was really cool because we had literally just played Mortal Kombat a couple weeks ago. Um, Getting to see kind of those things in action, in live action, and with this amount of detail, I guess you can say, for better or worse. But yeah, it was really, because you can tell they were really highlighting these moves and these depths.
I will say they kept closer to the newer versions of the game, but like Kaylin said, it was all about the available technology. I thought they were pretty good. I was entertained. Some of them were like, I mean, I felt like you could have done your fatality a lot sooner than you thought, or the finish him moment. But I kind of wasn't as into them, I guess, because I wasn't playing the character. It wasn't that victory moment you felt because you were playing that character and you're like, yeah, I get to do the fatality. I get to finally just end him. This was just more of the character doing a special move. So I did not love it as much as I thought I was going to love it. And I kind of mean that with like, yeah, all of them where it's just like you didn't get that sense of victory as you did with when you're playing the actual video game. So the fatality move was straight up just a move in a movie. And it kind of didn't have that same awe moment of when you're playing the game. So I kind of think it fell a little flat for me. But I do agree with Jonathan that some of them were like, wow, okay, we're going into detail, bloody gruesome. Okay. All right. That's an eyeball just hanging out. That's okay. Yeah, that's it kind of just fell a little flat, I think, just because I'm not part of the actual game or the movie, I guess. And so it's not like my victory. The fatality is not as big to me, but I still enjoy them. I like seeing the strength of all their powers, kind of hitting that like, oh, so this is what you can do. It's not just fighting. You can really kill somebody if you want to, but you want to fight and kind of have that honorable fight going on. Well, honorable. This movie was not in the tournament, so it wasn't really about honor, more just fighting. But what about you, Jerome?
I think they did a good job with the fatalities. They're really good. I mean, some of them are like classics, like Kano. That's his fatality from the original game when he rips the heart out, like in that, and it's that. So I was like, that's a really cool shout out. I think some of the fights are cool. I love the fight between Jax and Sub-Zero. I mostly also love that Jax talks that trash. Talk about I done 6 tours, and Sub-Zero's like, oh, 6 tours, huh? Got ice powers? I'm sorry, ice powers? And he just takes Jax's arms and kicks him down a hole. He's just like, yeah, 6 tours that.
You went through it.
That was just like, oh yeah, funny where he's just like, dude, like, do you not know where you are? Like, my military is not your military. Like,
did you not see me freeze your shotgun and the bullets 2 seconds ago? Like, wait, what makes you think you're gonna win this fight? But it was still a fun fight though. It was really fun. I loved Sonya versus Kano. The first one, the second one seemed a bit cheap, where she's like dipping through holes in her trailer. Like that felt very Home Alone-ish to me.
You got to think
Um,
smart. You got to think smart.
it just felt weird.
It
I was
felt
like, I would rather
cartoonish.
y'all actually fight, like a legit fight. Um, uh, it was a shame Kung Lao just died off, but it was cool to see him like do some fun stuff before he gets his soul taken. Um, and so it's like, and it's cool to see the powers in action. Like everybody here has their power. Melina can teleport, and she has the teeth. I was worried for a sec because at first it's just blood on the side of her face, and she has like a normal mouth with teeth. But then when she like rips her jaw open and you see the rest of her teeth, I was like, all right, we're getting the teeth. Shame that she does that and then is immediately
Immediately,
murdered. And I
yeah,
was like,
it was a bit anticlimactic
I was
because
like, come on.
Yeah,
she
that's how I
didn't
felt
have
about like
a real battle.
yeah, some of the deaths were like, oh, okay, you just gonna kill. Okay, I thought I was gonna be more. Okay,
Especially because Melina, again, is another character with a lot of lore and backstory because she's a clone of a character I assume we're getting in the next movie, which is Katana. And so there's a lot of back and forth between her and Katana. I mean, I hope they bring back I think her name was Sissy Springer or Sissy, what was her name?
Sissy Stringer.
Sissy Stringer. So I hope they bring back Sissy Stringer to be Melina again. I would love to see more Melina. Um, I would love to see more of a lot of these characters. I'd love to see more Cabal. But he was cool to see him use his super speed and with his hook swords and stuff. So it's like again, I think they did do their research. This is not a case of they didn't do their research to like find out things about the game and incorporate them. The problem is that they ignored it, most of it, made up new stuff, or just like did the bare minimum to be like, well, look, it's in the movie. And it's like, yeah, it's in the movie, but you're not really, it doesn't have the same impact. And to your point, Alex, I think this is the one movie where I was like, this video game movie can work without interactivity. But I think I do agree with your point that like half of the fun in Mortal Kombat is you doing the fatalities as opposed to just watching them.
yeah,
And so you don't feel like it's an epic moment when you don't have a controller in your hands and you didn't press the buttons to make it happen. It feels like it's just death happening for the sake of death and
yeah,
gore for the
because
sake of
because
gore.
in Mortal Kombat there's a point where you're just button smashing because you're so into it, you don't remember. You're just like hitting the buttons because you're so close to winning, and then you get to do the final fatality, and it's just like nice. I shouldn't really use the word nice. It's this victorious win you have, and like yeah, it was a little
Endorphins.
yeah,
You're
but
right.
I did appreciate like comparing to other video game movies. They did not once try to put you in like the first person viewing style, like the movie Doom off the game.
Well, that's
Did
because Doom is a first person shooter. So they were trying
yeah,
to mimic the
but
game.
like still that like kind of just mess with I felt like the whole movie. So I'm happy they didn't ever try to do that. I know like Mortal Kombat is the third person basically, but like you don't know what they're going to do when they bring in video game movies,
True.
you know. And
That's true.
yeah, so at least they held more true to that. But yeah, there was like a detachment from it cuz I'm like, I'm not the one fighting. You guys are fighting. I like why you're fighting. I want you to continue fighting. I want that guy to die. Um but yeah, that's kind of what I felt with this movie. I thought it was really good if you just take out the main character.
And what would be your rating?
My rating would be a C. And the only reason I would probably put it at a high B if it wasn't for Cole and it wasn't for the extra lore and the constant stories they were kind of pushing back. I felt like the opening was a good like origin story to why there's this battle that Cole's suddenly being pulled into. They didn't need to constantly bring up lore and like stories like that until the actual tournament of why it is so important. Why the tournament is important, why the arenas and everything like that, and why the lore is important. They didn't need to make up new one. The birthmark part is always ridiculous. Birthmarks are always kind of ridiculous when it's a story plot in something. You have a magical birthmark. There's a lot of people who have birthmarks and freckles and things like that. Okay. Um Cole's whole storyline was just absolutely unnecessary. They didn't even give him real power. They let him use the deflection once, but I have scientific issues with it. And then they never actually fully stated whether or not he was part of Scorpio's bloodline or not.
Oh, they do.
Which
But
they kind of, it's more so heavily implied. It's not. Is it actually mentioned?
Raiden says that you are a descendant because I saved that baby, and that baby was like your great great grandmother.
Oh, I must have blocked.
He's like, you are a descendant of Scorpio.
Well, that should say something. I stopped paying attention clearly at a certain point. Anytime he was on screen, I was like, this dude is all talk. I am here for actual fighting. I love the actors. They did really well. I of course love the characters, Sub-Zero and Scorpion. They've always been my favorite. And I do love, the fighting scenes we got and everything like that. There was a detachment for me where I clearly stopped paying attention at certain points. I think if in the next movies they get rid of Cole, they get rid of that. They can keep maybe they can keep the bloodline story going if they got a different kid or something, but they need to get rid of Cole. They really do. And they need to get rid of that whole nonsense of your power is to take a punch. Because unless you can straight up create a force field around you, getting hit multiple times, and also a lot of these aren't punching. There's a guy with a saw hat. You can't, your body's not going to be strong enough armor for that. You're not going to be strong enough armor for like the hook chains or the ice going through your heart or Johnny Cage's fire when he says toasty. Like, your body armor can only do so much. A lot of these actors, or a lot of the characters, wear their own style of armor. All right, you're not special. So they need to just completely remove him from the storyline and just go back to it's Mortal Kombat. There's enough lore and legend and character background story to create this movie. They didn't need to create a new one. So that's why it falls like at a C for me. Had they just not done that and actually used what was there, I think it would have been a great movie. But what do you guys think?
Jerome, how about you?
This gets a D for me. For the same reasons Godzilla and Kong got a D for me, which is that, like, yes, like, if you're a Mortal Kombat fan and all you want, like I said the same thing for Godzilla and Kong, where I was like, if you want monsters fighting and that's all you really care about, Godzilla and Kong is right up your alley. Mortal Kombat's the same way. If all you want is the blood and gore and fatalities and you want to see people fight, like your favorite characters fight and they're in costume and stuff like that, you will get that. That is here. I will not lie to you and say it isn't. The problem is that the story wrapped around that is awful. It is not well done. And at least you can say Godzilla and Kong, like, they know it's dumb. They are very aware that, so they just play into it. Mortal Kombat is trying to be dead serious about their plot. Like, this is some high grade, like, oh, they really gonna feel this. This gonna get us some more sequels. And it's not. It's not at all. Like, Cole is a terrible character. No shade to Louis Tan. I feel like they did this to him, not that it is his fault. Cole Young is an unnecessary character when you have a video game that's a fighting game and has literally like over 100 characters to pick from. Over 100, and you made up a new one and gave him nothing to work with. No personality, no cool powers, not even good fighting skills. And that should be like the baseline in a movie called Mortal Kombat. So honestly, am I gonna watch this movie again? No. I've already seen like what it has to offer, the best it has to offer. I could probably look up if you want to, if you're only here for the fighting, wait a week for like the best fights to be on YouTube and watch those, and you'll get the same enjoyment. To be quite honest.
Damn.
So you'll get the same enjoyment. And as far as the sequels go, will I tune in to see the second one? It'll really depend on what that trailer looks like, because as it stands now, I don't want any more of this director and these writers Mortal Kombat. I don't. Like, I'd rather watch Mortal Kombat. If you want to see a good representation of the Mortal Kombat story in live action, look up, if you can find it. I think it's like on DVD or you can rent it. Mortal Kombat Legacy. If you want like a modern day, like you don't want to watch the old school 1995 Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat Legacy is fantastic. All the characters are very well realized. You do get all of the originals. You get like Shang Tsung, Jax, Sonya, Johnny Cage, even some other ones like Kenshi and stuff like that. So you like, if you want that, watch that. Don't watch this if you're if you're a hardcore Mortal Kombat fan, because I'm telling you now, you will be disappointed. That's my final thoughts.
Jonathan, as somebody who wasn't big on the video game when it, was when it first came out, or too much knows too much of the story now. What did you think as like somebody outside this?
So firstly, I think I will give this movie a B minus. So I'm probably the highest on this movie out of this group.
Yeah, I don't.
But that's because I didn't really like the storyline. Yeah, it was kind of all over the place, and yeah, it was kind of nothing at the same time. So I think I just took it at like face value. Am I gonna see people dying? Am I gonna see these people, beating each other up? Am I gonna see this one-on-one, 1v1 action? Am I gonna see these gruesome deaths? Yes, I'm gonna see all that. Okay, I'm in. So that was probably the reason why I, maybe am a little higher on it. I wasn't really paying attention too much to the storyline, but I do 100% agree with everything that you all said, but I don't really have as much of the context to kind of hamper my enjoyment on it. I did scream, like I said, I was a little squeamish at certain points, which isn't the worst thing. Sometimes it's cool to be shocked by when somebody gets cut in half by a buzzsaw. And I made the mistake of eating my dinner while I was watching the beginning of this movie.
You saw the video games. We played them all together on our channel.
I did, and I've played Mortal Kombat before, but like I just didn't have that in my mind. Like something left my mind that told me, maybe it might not be a good idea to eat food while watching this. And then I watched this movie in 2 parts, so I ate dinner, last night when I watched the first part, and then for this podcast I watched the second part, and I was eating again, and I don't know what compelled me to do that, but I did. Other than that, I enjoyed it. Yeah, it was fun. Maybe they'll do something in the next movie. I think that's a good idea where, maybe the daughter has more involvement, or maybe the dad dies, the dad meaning young, and maybe he dies or something, and she becomes the new, hero and everything, because she clearly had more knowledge, and she seems capable. So maybe she'll have some more involvement. Maybe they'll age her up a little bit. Maybe they'll do like a fast forward to the future. But other than that, those, I guess, are our thoughts on Mortal Kombat. Make with that what you will. If you haven't seen the movie,
sorry,
make your own judgment.
Alex kind of hijacked this whole review because Jonathan, I'm sorry, you didn't really get to talk a lot for this review. At all. We kind of just like took the reins on this one with complaints.
Look, when it comes to video game movies, it is better to, what's the phrase? It's better to be silent than seen like a fool. I just broke the phrase right now.
You let the people who have a little more context talk about the context of the movie and why it was upsetting to people who actually would like the Mortal Kombat video games to be a movie. But you did state your opinion, and you're not wrong. Like, that's how I talk about the Star Trek, the new movies, like Into the Darkness and all that. If it goes on a different timeline, those movies are good, and I stand by that, and stand by alone, they're good. But if you're tying them to the actual Star Trek, like the actual timeline they're supposed to be from, those are stupid. All right, Captain Kirk is not really like the way they have Chris Pine portraying him, and like they make like the Spock uncomfortably awkward in those movies, and like the original Spock was like, I feel weird, but you don't feel weird. All right, we'll move this on. But that Spock like felt uncomfortable. He's like, oh, I said something wrong. Oh, this is weird now. No, we didn't need you pointing it out, man. We didn't. So I think it's good to have a perception like that where it's like you're able to see the movie without the context behind it to see if maybe it is actually not a bad movie, you know? And you're right.
Here we go.
There is the fighting scenes that were enjoyable, I think, and the blood gore does hit people hard sometimes. So that is also a good warning to have, you know?
I think, for next time, if they want, like, keep that, keep the fights, keep the gore. That's good. Just next time, work on your script. And I think they'll have a solid movie. It's just like when we were talking about the Snyder Cut. Like, between that 4-hour movie and Joss Whedon's 2-hour movie, there is a 3-hour perfect cut in there. I feel like there is a good Mortal Kombat movie to be mined from this rough beginning. There is. You just got to have a better story, or rather one that's just willing to have more fun. I guess that's the big thing. It doesn't take itself as seriously. Like we're in a world where there are invisible reptiles and 4-armed monsters. Like, have fun, have a good time. Like, let it be a popcorn movie. Will it be compared to like high art? No, but it was never going to be. It's Mortal Kombat.
That's
and
fair.
and on that note, where can people find you on social media at?
I'll go. You can find me at
Where can people at you
on Instagram. You could also find me at RoboZoo Media and find out more about stuff I'm working on outside of this, aside of me just ragging on movie characters.
It's earned for those.
And Alex, how about you?
You can find me at Alex and Nobody on Instagram, where I mainly post pictures of my cat Cheddar and random things that are going on in my life. Also, I handle the TikTok account for the First Ones to Die, where I post little parts from our podcast to get you guys a little sneak preview, and also random videos of me and Cheddar again, because that's all that's going on in my life. What about you, Jonathan?
Yes, you can find me at Jonathan Keys on Instagram, Twitter, wherever you please. I think I'm gonna keep that because that is seriously a bar.
It
And
kinda works.
if you made it to the end of this podcast, go to our last post on Instagram, type "It's a birthmark!" ! And with all of that being said, we are the first ones to die.
Oh, also,
we'll see you
we
next.
gotta mention, like, if you want to follow all of us at First Ones to Die, we are at First Ones to Die on all of our social media. So that's Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all that, Facebook, all of it. So reach out to us. Tell us what you thought about the movie. Did you like Mortal Kombat? If you did, don't worry, I'm not gonna come after you. Like, it's fine.
He will.
Like, if you like I don't have that much of the bloodlust right now. Like, the point, I got it all out on Cole Young. The point is that tell us what you thought about the movie. Tell us what who your favorite Mortal Kombat character is if you haven't seen the movie. We'd love to know in the comments below, whether you're watching it on YouTube or you're just commenting on our social medias. And you can follow us there to find out more information about new stuff we got coming on as we go forward.
We'd love to know in the comments below. You trying to steal my thunder and steal my bars? Okay, I see how it is. All right, everyone. We'll see you all next week. Bye-bye. It's a birthmark.
That's right. Battle me, Jonathan. Battle me with your bars, Jonathan.
Bye, everybody.